Tonight on Campaign Countdown, Pamsplaining talks about bipartisan election myth-busting. Jillian Freeland does a presentation on the Second Amendment, and we're less than 2 weeks away from the election, so we decided that we're just going to have some entertaining content from the Lincoln Project. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Campaign Countdown.
Really interesting new details on this voting that's underway. We do know more about this electorate than at any point in any election in history, and that includes the emerging coalitions in these battleground states, which traditionally decide the election. Turnout way up in the 14 key battlegrounds, from roughly 6 million early votes at this point last cycle to now topping 17 million. Now, who makes up this wider pool of voters? We have new data on the Democratic surge tonight, and what it does, what we're about to show you, will fact check some of Donald Trump's false claims.
So, you know, the votes are coming in, and they're very much inclined to be with us. I don't know if you see, early voting. Because our people like to go out and vote, right? They like to vote. They like to vote, and it's incredible what's happening. So the early votes are coming in a lot of areas, and they're starting to get a little bit nervous on the other side.
Trump saying the other side gets a little bit nervous. Well, only the candidates know if they feel nervous. But the numbers show Democrats have more to celebrate right now. We're looking at these swing states, not traditionally blue ones, so it's striking to see a blue edge of over 1 million votes for Democrats in the early voting there. Now, that shows Democrats banking a lead. But what if those are just traditional Democratic voters coming out earlier because of the pandemic? That's a fair empirical question. The goal in any campaign, of course, is to get more votes, not just move them earlier. And that's where another key piece of data comes in, showing Democrats turning out more new voters, people who didn't vote in 2016, taking this edge here of about 400,000 votes so far. Joining me right now is Tom Bonnier. He runs TargetSmart, a political data company, which has partnered with NBC to bring each of the data sets we just showed you and many more. And Mark Thompson back with us, host of the Make It Plain podcast. Good to see you both.
Good to see you too. Thank you.
Tom, I think by now anyone who follows politics understands there's a surge of turnout, and a lot of folks have a broad idea of why that may be good for Biden. Walk us through specifically these deeper numbers you have on who the new voters are and what that means.
It's really remarkable what we're seeing in this surge in turnout, because it's really across the board sort of traditional Democratic constituents. Shared the numbers from a partisan perspective, but when we look at the demographics, the younger voters, we see voters of color, we see women putting massive margins in, the likes of which we've never seen in an election before. The interesting part of this is the other side of the equation is we're actually seeing seniors surging in key states like Florida and Arizona, and the data that we've seen in terms of who those seniors are actually more likely to be Democrats.
Hey, I'm Ari Melber from MSNBC. You can see more of our videos right here, or better yet, subscribe to our YouTube channel below. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us, and we appreciate that.
I will just start by saying there is no one fix to gun violence. It is a multidimensional problem that we have to come to from a security and safety place. We have to come to it from a healthcare place, and we also have to come to it from a responsibility place. Now, I mentioned before, I am a firearm owner. I respect the Second Amendment that our forefathers wrote into our rights, but I think we need a little more guidance for our citizens on how to responsibly exercise that right. A lot of our Republican politicians talk about mental health being the #1 thing we need to do to address gun violence. And they are right in many ways. One of the things that we don't discuss is that 60% of deaths by guns are actually suicide. And when our state, in this last legislative session, created an extreme risk protection order, their goal was to help prevent suicides, to help prevent school shootings, or all of the many places that we no longer feel safe being in a public space, whether that's your place of worship or a movie theater. We also need to have universal background checks at the federal level. This is widely supported, not just among Democrats. 90% of Americans support universal background checks. But because lobbyist money is what flows into the pockets of our legislators, Mitch McConnell won't even bring the bill to the floor for a vote. And so part of this is election reform, part of this is a health issue, and part of it is just a plain old obstruction issue. And so electing new representatives so that we can take these steps forward that the American public has clearly stated they want to see happen is going to take big change at every level of office.
Hello, everybody. Glad you could join us. We're here. Pam Anderson and I'm Lori Mitchell, Chaffey County Clerk and Recorder. We have with us Pam Anderson, who is the Executive Director of the Colorado Clerks Association, and she's a former county clerk in Jefferson County, Colorado. And we're here today to do some myth busting about elections. I also like to call it Pamsplaining because she is the best at communicating these complex issues. Some are very easy, some are complex, and she does the best at explaining them. So I'm going to ask her some questions, and she's going to Pamsplain. So here we go.
I'm just honored to be in the election bunker to share some
Yes,
of this
welcome to our
information.
election bunker. Yes.
Just love it down here. So excited. Been following Lori on Facebook, and
We're getting
super
our props
excited.
ready for Vote Lodge. We've transitioned, and we're going to have skis as stanchions and stuff. So anyway, okay, Pam. My first question for you: can you vote twice?
Can you vote twice? Nowhere in America is it legal to vote twice. Nope. Let's not do that. What you can do in Colorado is get a replacement ballot. You can, if your dog ate your ballot, and this is a thing, this has happened.
It almost
If your
happened
dog
to me.
ate your ballot, or if you've made a mistake, don't want to correct it on your ballot, you can get a replacement. You can also come in person, and the mail ballot that we send to you is voided in the system. There are security measures that we know what ballot's been issued and what ballot's been returned statewide, live linked. So please, if you voted your ballot, don't do a just in case ballot. We're going to be able to see that in the system. You can get a replacement, but don't vote twice.
That's good. That's good advice, Pam. We're not going to vote twice in Colorado. We're going to vote once. You can certainly check to see if we've received your ballot. We have a new statewide tracking system. If you aren't familiar with it, or if you haven't signed up yet, make sure you go to colorado.ballottracks.net. Colorado.ballottracks, BALLOTTRAX.net. From there, you can track your ballot as if it was a package coming to you. So that's something new for us across the state in Colorado, because we care. We want you to know that we've received your ballot. We want you to know it's securely in our possession. And okay, thanks everybody.
A lot of really creepy statements, actions for sure, but statements that he's made in the past that make me very uncomfortable, certainly as a mother, but as a person who breathes air.
You're going up the escalator? I'm going to be dating her in 10 years. Can you believe it?
Really creepy statements.
If Ivanka weren't my daughter, perhaps I'd be dating her. You know?
Oh, it's so weird. Stop. You know what? You are sick.
It makes me very uncomfortable that he would look at certain other Americans the way he apparently has in the past.
What does Tiffany have of Marlon?
She's got Marla's legs.
Creepy.
We don't know whether or not she's got this part yet, but time will tell.
What's the favorite thing you have in common with your father?
Either real estate or golf.
Donald, with your daughter?
Well, I was going to say sex, but I can't relate that.
He's definitely not a typical father.
Creepy.
Thing one tonight, I wonder, do you think Donald Trump has ever read the United States Constitution? No, of course he hasn't. I'm sorry. What a ridiculous question. Although he sure has talked a lot about Article 2 lately.
Then I have an Article 2 where I have the right to do whatever I want as president, but I don't even talk about that.
You have Article 2 and you have many other things.
That's the other thing. If you use your rights, if you use your power, if you use Article 2, it's called obstruction.
Also, someday you ought to read a thing called Article 2. Read Article 2, which gives the president powers that you wouldn't believe.
Of course, Article 2 does not give Trump unlimited powers. In fact, the guy just got impeached because he doesn't understand that. But the weird thing is, we have documentary evidence that President Trump, on at least one occasion, did read at least part of the U.S. Constitution. And not just any part, Article 2. The problem is he had a really hard time following it. And that's thing 2 in 60 seconds. We know that Donald Trump has a tough time sticking to the script. When he was inducted into the Hall of Presidents at Disney World, he reportedly wanted to add a line for his robot to say about how America invented the skyscraper, saying, quote, then I could add a little, which of course I know a thing or two about, right? Disney eventually rejected the idea, explaining that actually a skyscraper wasn't really an invention, but just a taller building. And so the weirdest looking of all the Disney animatronic president says nothing about big buildings.
And will, to the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States. So help me God.
Good Lord, that's weird. That brings us to the time Trump actually read that Constitution his robot swore to defend. According to the new book, A Very Stable Genius, excerpted in Vanity Fair, about 6 weeks after the election, an HBO documentary is being put together in which the U.S. Constitution would be read, start to finish, by various American leaders. Trump's part on Article 2 gave him some trouble from the book. Trump grew irritated. It's very hard to do because of the language here, Trump told the crew. It's very hard to get through the whole thing without a stumble. He added, it's like a different language, right? Trump tried again, but again remarked, it's like a foreign language. But much like the Disney robot, Trump did finally power through it. How much he actually absorbed? Well, I think we all know.
Each state shall appoint, in such manner as the legislature thereof may direct, a number of electors equal to the whole number of senators and representatives to which the state may be entitled in the Congress.
Also, someday you ought to read a thing called Article 2. Read Article 2, which gives the president powers that you wouldn't believe.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.
History and culture, so important. We are living in a time that's as evil as any time that there has ever been. You know, when I was a young man, I studied medieval times. That's what they did. They chopped off heads.
The Continental Army suffered a bitter winter of Valley Forge. Our army manned the air. It ran the ramparts. It took over the airports. It did everything it had to do.
People don't realize, you know, the Civil War, you think about it, why? People don't ask that question. But why was there the Civil War? Why could that one not have been worked out?
People don't realize, you know, if you go back to the Civil War, it was the Republicans that really did the thing.
So Robert E. Lee was a great general, and Abraham Lincoln developed a phobia. Honest Abe. I wonder if he was really that honest, but you know what? Let's assume Honest Abe was Honest Abe. But Lincoln had almost developed a phobia because he was having a hard time with a true great fighter and a great general, Robert E. Lee. He was going crazy. I don't know if you know this story. General Grant.
The great General Ulysses S. Grant.
He went in and he knocked the hell out of everyone. He had a serious problem, a serious drinking problem. But man, was he a good general. And he's finally being recognized as a great general.
Frederick Douglass is an example of somebody who's done an amazing job and is being recognized more and more, I notice. Had Andrew Jackson been a little bit later, you wouldn't have had the Civil War. He was really angry that he saw what was happening with regard to the Civil War. He said, there's no reason for this.
And remember one thing, because I always consider him to be a true great.
And people never give us credit for this. Abraham Lincoln was a Republican, right?
They always said nobody got treated worse than Lincoln. I believe I am treated worse.
We weren't allowed any rights. We had, for the first time in the history of our country, we had virtually no rights, no due process. So the great tariff debate of 1888, we had so much money, we could do whatever we wanted. Then in 1913, they ended tariffs, okay? Somebody got stupid, and they ended tariffs. And then in 1928, you had the Great Depression. For a lot of different reasons, not necessarily our country's fault, but a little bit our country's fault.
And I mean, people forget that at that time, Hitler was virtually unstoppable. He was going through countries like cheese.
America built the Empire State Building in just 1 year. Believe it or not, in 9 months.
Can you believe that?
They say a wall is medieval. Well, so is a wheel. A wheel is older than a wall. The wheel is older than the wall. You know that?
During a heated phone conversation with Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau regarding tariffs, Trump asked, quote, "Didn't you guys burn down the White House?" Trump was apparently referring to the War of 1812, which was fought against the British. The British burned down the White House, the original White House in 1814. The British.
We have to understand our past. We have to understand our history. Because if we don't know our history, it could all happen again. Have to know our history. Melania told me this. Can you believe this? She's like giving me a history lesson. Our First Lady is giving me a history.
It was 1988, the AIDS epidemic at its peak. When asked in a debate who he considered American heroes, Vice President Bush praised a young research doctor, Anthony Fauci.
I think of Dr. Fauci. He's a very fine research, top doctor at National Institute of Health, working hard doing something about research on this disease of AIDS.
He's an American hero, a kid from Brooklyn who grew up over his family's pharmacy. At 5'7", he was captain of his high school basketball team, a natural leader. Under 6 presidents, he's quietly worked to keep America safe. In a time when truth is under assault, he's always been straight with us.
So I can say we will see more cases and things will get worse than they are right now.
While President Trump lied.
It's going to disappear. One day, it's like a miracle. It will disappear.
Now Donald Trump is attacking Dr. Fauci. Why? Because Trump failed America. So he does what he always does, attack and blame.
No, I don't take responsibility at all because...
So who do you trust? Donald, the dope?
Then I see the disinfectant, where it knocks it out in a minute.
Or the doctor? To protect our families, on November 3rd, we can make Donald Trump disappear. It's not a miracle. It's democracy. Donald Trump will never change. Over 200,000 Americans dead. Trump said COVID-19 affects almost nobody. But then he got it. His wife got it. His press secretary got it. His debate team got it. His White House staff got it. Trump turned the White House into a hot zone. Now Trump is still trying to convince us that the greatest public health threat in over a century isn't a big deal, while he gasps for air fresh from the hospital. Americans know there's a lot more wrong with Donald Trump than just having COVID-19. He doesn't care about others, can't lead, can't plan, can't face the truth. Donald Trump will never change. He's killing us. This year, vote like your life depends on it.
The Lincoln Project is responsible for the content of this advertising.
Did you use the word smart? They sacrifice every day for the furniture and future of their children.
When they gaze upon Yosemite's towering sequoias, he was awarded the Bronze Star
and the Combat Infantryman Badge for his service.
You know, we just set another stock rocket. You saw that, right?
Their whole state to be a sanctuary for criminal, illegal immigrants. Despite these obstacles, Karen, technology companies are really big beneficiaries. I am today starting the process of terminating the diversity, made a pivotal, really, and I mean this was pivotal, decided to shield and shelter criminal, look, ICE officers, remove 10,000 known or suspected. We must seek real bipartisan solutions. Don't ever use the word smart with me. Don't ever use that word.
The Lincoln Project is responsible for the content of this advertising.
When it comes to great steaks, I've just raised the stakes. Trump steaks are by far the best tasting, most flavorful beef you've ever had.
Last thing before we go here tonight, or as a true television pitchman would say, but wait, there's more. We've spent years here already detailing how far we are from normal, how different this president is from all who have gone before him. He is mostly a creature of television. We know he's a voracious consumer of television, but Donald J. Trump is a pitchman, a hype man, a marketer. Nothing he makes, but other people's products, mind you. As he would put it, a lot of people don't realize he has done previous endorsements for Double Stuff Oreos, Pizza Hut, Domino's, this is all real, McDonald's, the Visa check card, Verizon Wireless, Macy's, all laundry detergent, Trump Steaks, Trump The Game, Trump Ice, Trump Vodka, and his fragrance line, Success by Trump. Indeed, during the pandemic, we've watched him promote hydroxychloroquine and the Abbott rapid test for COVID. Now he's pushing a false cure for COVID, and the folks at the Lincoln Project used his own words to put it into commercial form.
Hi, perhaps you recognize me. It's your favorite president. I got back a day ago from Walter Reed Medical Center. I went in, I wasn't feeling so hot. And within a very short period of time, they gave me Regeneron. A short 24 hours later, I was feeling great. And that's what I want for everybody. If you're in the hospital and you're feeling really bad, Regeneron. We have hundreds of thousands of doses that are just about ready. You're going to get better. You're going to get better really fast. Regeneron. Because I feel great. I feel like perfect. I want to get for you what I got. Regeneron. And you'll see some amazing things happen. You're going to get better. You're going to get better fast, just like I did.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from
Behold the rare small-pawed Trump, Impetus americanus. Notable for its exotic plumage, the Trump is typically a ruddy orange color not found in nature. Though Impetus was once considered an alpha predator, this elderly specimen now weighs somewhat over 300 pounds due to its diet of fast food. In its youth, it was known to pursue females with other predators like Molestus Epstein. Now it focuses on exploiting its home territory, the United States. Impetus americanus is known to be a master of deception and considered the most corrupt of its species. Its tweeted cries of anger are meant to distract its prey from its failures as the leader of its pack. Impetus americanus is considered endangered this November due to its own incompetence and failure.
Donald Trump will likely go down in history as this country's most moronic president. So what exactly is the dumbest moment he's ever had? Well, there are many to choose from. So first, I want to remind you all of the bright idea he had regarding nuking hurricanes. He had been quoted as saying the following, Axios had reported this, I got it, why don't we nuke them? They start forming off the coast of Africa. As they're moving across the Atlantic, we drop a bomb inside the eye of the hurricane and it disrupts it. Why can't we do that? The source added, paraphrasing the president's remarks. But if you thought that was a dumb moment, which it most certainly was, we have other examples for you, including what you're about to watch.
Army manned the airport. It ran the ramparts. It took over the airports. It did everything it had to do.
So that was him claiming that the Revolutionary Army took over the airports back in the 1700s. But we have more. Let's go to the next one.
We've ended the war on beautiful, clean coal, and it's just been announced that a second brand new coal mine where they're going to take out clean coal, meaning they're taking out coal, they're going to clean it, is opening.
Look, these are impossible to decide. In fact, we got a poll coming up at tyt.com/dumb where we're going to ask you which one of these is the dumbest. So keep all these in mind. Take out the coal and you clean it, and that's what clean coal is. Taking over the airport in 76. You think it can't get worse? Hold.
F-35s, fighter jets. They're stealth. You can't see them. I said, how good are these? They say, well, sir, the problem is you can't see them when you fight them. I said, that sounds like it's a big advantage.
I said, how does it do it in fights? And how do they do in fights with the F-35? He said, we do very well. You can't see it. You can't see it. They said, well, sir, you can't see it. I said, yeah, but in a fight, a fight like I watch on the movies, the fight, they're fighting. How good is it? Say, well, it wins every time because the enemy cannot see it. Even if it's right next to it, it can't see.
One of the guys in the back nearly burst out laughing. It's a stealth fighter because radar can't pick it up. You can see it. It is not an invisible plane.
No. If you're next to it, you literally cannot see it. You just can't. It's an invisible fighter jet.
Okay, first of all, what's interesting is there's actually an F-35 in front of me right now. You just can't see it. And I didn't know that Donald Trump was Wonder Woman with invisible planes. Does he also have the cute little bracelets?
This is actually, look, some people, I don't know, maybe you're having fun. I'm not having fun. This, to me, is like the most depressing story I've ever had to cover. But we have more. Let's take a look.
Surrounded by water, big water, ocean water.
And look.
Look, that was not going to win, okay? But the fact that he realized that Puerto Rico is an island surrounded by water, big water, ocean water, that's never not funny.
From the standpoint of water.
That was a later quote when he said, water is wet from the standpoint of water. This guy's an idiot. And 40% of the country thinks genius, nailed it. That's the guy I want to lead me. Wow.
If you have a windmill anywhere near your house, congratulations. Your house just went down 75% in value. And they say the noise causes cancer. You told me that one, okay? The thing makes it so...
So he thinks that windmills cause cancer.
No, to be more specific, Anna, the noise from the windmill causes cancer. Everybody knows that. By the way, the real reason he's pissed at windmills is because there's some windmills next to a golf course he owns, which he thinks lower the value of it. But he's now convinced himself that the noise from the windmills cause cancer. That's one of my favorites. I'm on pins and needles here as to what I'm going to vote for, what you guys are going to vote for, tyt.com/dumb, but we're not done.
The disinfectant, where it knocks it out in a minute, 1 minute. And is there a way we can do something like that by injection inside or almost a cleaning? Because you see it gets on the lungs and it does a tremendous number of the lungs. So it'd be interesting to check that. So that you're going to have to use medical doctors with. But it sounds interesting to me.
And so obviously that's the famous putting disinfectant inside your body and it does a number on your lungs. Yeah, that's true. It would do a number on your lungs. You would die. That's what he just said yesterday, of course, and what everybody's talking about. So it's new, and it is spectacularly over the top. So it's probably the favorite going in. But, I wouldn't sell the invisible jets or the wind causing cancer short. And there's so many things that aren't, and all those things, I don't want to bias you. I mean, the Air Force we had under Thomas Jefferson and George Washington was amazing. Not, you know what? Every jet they had was invisible. They weren't like that at all. You couldn't see them. The British didn't see them coming. They had the invisible jets. So, this child is our president. Okay. And we didn't even nuking the hurricanes. Okay. We didn't look, there were things that he said that are in this ballpark too that we didn't include it. So how many things can you put in a poll? So go vote right now, tyt.com/dumb, because the whole country wants to know what was the dumbest thing he's ever said. And this is one of the biggest contests I've ever seen.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.
Let Biden sit through an interview like this. He'll be on the ground crying for mommy. He'll say, "Mommy, mommy, please take me home."
We have the 7th highest mortality rate in the world. Our mortality rate is higher than Brazil, it's higher than Russia, and the European Union has us on a travel ban.
When you talk about mortality rates, I think it's the opposite. I think we have one of the lowest mortality rates in the world. We're going to take a look.
We had 900 deaths on a single day.
We will take a look.
This week.
Ready?
You can check it out.
Could you please get me the mortality rate?
Yeah.
Kaylee's right here. I heard we had one of the lowest, maybe the lowest mortality rate anywhere in the world. Do you have the numbers, please? Because I heard we had the best mortality rate.
These data similarly to great countries, as Dr. Burks points out. And this is
Number one low mortality rate. I hope you show this in here because it shows what fake news is all about. Okay, go
I don't
ahead.
think I'm fake news, but I will put
Well, there you were.
Hot enough for you here, Mr. President?
It's hot. It's about sort of almost record-breaking.
You know, we wanted to do it inside. This was your choice.
But I wanted you to sweat a little bit.
Well, we both are.
Biden wants to fund the place.
Sir, he does not.
Look, he signed a charter with Bernie Sanders. I will get that one, just like I was right on the mortality rate. Did you read the charter that he agreed to?
It says nothing about defunding the
Oh,
police.
really? It says abolish. It says fund. Let's go.
All right.
Get me the charter, please.
All right.
Chris, you've got to start studying for these.
He says defund the police.
He says defund the police. They talk about abolishing the police. They talk about illegal aliens pouring.
I look forward to seeing that.
When people proudly had their Confederate flags, they're not talking about racism. They love their flag. It represents the South. They like the South. People right now like the South. I say it's freedom of many things, but it's freedom of speech.
So you're not offended by it?
Well, I'm not offended either by Black Lives Matter. That's freedom of speech. I think that Fort Bragg, Fort Robert E. Lee, all of these forts that have been named that way for a long time, decades and decades.
But the military says they're for this.
Excuse me. I don't care what the military says. 1492, Columbus discovered America. You know, we grew up, you grew up, we all did. That's what we learned. Now they want to make it the 1619 Project. Where did that come from? What does it represent? I don't even know.
It's slavery.
That's what they're saying, but they don't even know. They just want to make a change.
You still have more than 100 days to this election, but at this point, you're losing.
First of all, I'm not losing because those are fake polls. They were fake in 2016, and now they're even more fake. Let's take a test. Let's take a test right now. Let's go down. Joe and I will take a test. Let him take the same test that I took.
Incidentally, I took the test too when I heard that you passed it.
Yeah, how did you do it?
Well, it's not the hardest test.
No, but
there's a picture and it says, what's that? And it's an elephant.
No. You see, that's all misrepresentation.
Well, that's what it was on the web.
It's all misrepresentation. Because, yes, the first few questions are easy, but I'll bet you couldn't even answer the last 5 questions. I'll bet you couldn't. They get very hard, the last 5 questions.
Well, one of them was count back from 100 by 7.
And let me tell you,
93.
you couldn't answer.
All right, what's the question?
Many of the questions. I think mail-in voting is going to rig the election. I really do.
Are you suggesting that you might not accept the results of the election?
I have to see. Look, Hillary Clinton asked me the same thing.
Can you give a direct answer? You will accept the election?
I have to see. look, I have to see. No, I'm not going to just say yes. I'm not going to say no. And I didn't last time either. I'm not a big fan of Fox. I'll be honest with you.